So, how is World Rugby the continuation of the Roman Empire? I love this title. The ultimate bait for the rugby enthusiast, the loyal rugby fans of the Pacific, and sports people globally. The gossipers eager to know who the fuck is this clown and what the fuck does he know? Well, you're gonna know soon. But I'm 60 years plus, and my views are mine to express. When you reach this milestone in life, things become clearer. Your thought process, your number of clothing items. The colour of my clothing is limited to 3 colours. That's similar to my art colour palette. Your ripped holy underwear that says Tuesday when it's Sunday is barely holding on, hoping that someone who loves you dearly would gift me that new 12-pack of underwear from Kmart that has the months of the year and not the days of the week. I'm not sure whether it'll make my underwear last longer, or it's a marketing ploy for me to wear one pair of underwear for a whole month. I don't know, and I don't care. And the way I see the world as it is really becomes very clear. So in essence, my opinions and views of life are mine. And if those of you feel a bit offended, well, I just don't give a rat's ass. Because 2 dogs fucking mixed in with a lot of bum fluff, I just don't give a damn. This is my why, and I have something to say through my art. Hey, it's good art, I think, unless you're a subscriber. And if you are, I love you too long time. And if you're new here, welcome. This is an art channel. You're watching the sketchbook part of my video, where this becomes the core of my final artwork that'll be revealed shortly. Watch my other videos. That is just as enlightening as this one will be, hopefully. For those others, I welcome you back to my channel. So let's go down this rabbit hole, shall we? In ancient Rome, the Colosseum was the grandest stage on earth. Tens of thousands gathered, hungry for blood, desperate for distraction. They came not for justice, not for truth, but for spectacle. Gladiators were paraded like heroes, yet they lived and died as slaves. Men who fought not for freedom, but for the entertainment of others. They were stripped of name, voice, of choice, yet their bodies were glorified. Their pain was profit, their suffering the price of the empire's applause. Above them, the wealthy and powerful feasted. Below, in the crowded tiers, the poor were thrown crumbs, literally. The same hands that cheered as a man fell were the hands reaching for leftovers. They were starving, not just for food, but for escape. And the empire knew if the people were fed the show, they would not question the system that starved them. 2,000 years later, humanity has changed its clothes, but not its nature. Today, the Colosseum has a new name, World Rugby. The arenas are bigger, the lights are brighter, the world still watches. The players, modern gladiators, still come from places of struggle and pride, from islands surrounded by ocean and faith, where strength is born of survival. Samoa, Tonga, Fiji, the Pacific, where the bodies that built empires still rise before dawn to train, still dream of lifting their families, their villages, their nations. But behind the jerseys, the chants, and the cameras lies an old story retold. The story where the powerful profit from the powerless, where billions flow north and only pennies return south, where our players bleed for entertainment while boardrooms in Europe count the cash their pain has earned. The crowd still cheers, the crumbs still fall, and the lions, they wear suits now. The same empires that once tossed scraps to the starving now toss sponsorship deals and token recognition to the islands that fuel their game. They tell us we should be grateful that the show goes on because of them, but we know better. Without the Pacific, the game would lose its soul. Yet, just like in Rome, the world watches, entertained, but blind to the cost. This is not ancient history. This is today. This is a violent silence, a silence built on sweat, faith, and sacrifice. A silence that has endured too long. But every silence has a breaking point, and this one begins here. To understand the Pacific Nations struggle in world rugby, it's essential to grasp the tier system. Tier 1 nations are the wealthiest and most established, with professional leagues, large fan bases, and permanent access to elite annual tournaments like the Six Nations or the Rugby Championship. Tier 2 nations such as Fiji, Samoa, and Tonga are highly competitive but rely heavily on the World Rugby funding, lack stable domestic competitions, and have limited commercial income. There is no official pathway to move from Tier 2 to Tier 1, but progression depends on four factors: financial independence, access to elite competitions, consistent top 10 rankings, and governance and infrastructure. Tier 1 nations earn over $100 million US annually, control test schedules, influence policy, and profit from TV rights. Pacific nations share only $20 million over 4 years, shared amongst just those three nations. In short, the issue is political and financial, not athletic. Despite producing world-class players and beating Tier 1 nations, the Pacific remains locked out of rugby's highest tiers. Now let's throw a spanner in the works. In 2022, Samoa shook the foundations of World Rugby League. At Rugby League World Final, Australia, a Tier 1 nation, beat Samoa, Tier 2, 30-10. But the result mattered less than the journey. Samoa had already defeated Tonga and England to become the first Pacific nation ever to reach a World Cup final, exposing deep cracks in the global tier system. Had Samoa won, the so-called tier system legitimacy would have collapsed. Their victory would have proven that tiers are not about skill, but about money and access. Samoa's players were already world-class. Most play in top NRL clubs, yet the union survives on minimal funding. The system's fragility lies in this contradiction. Pacific nations supply elite talent, but are denied elite treatment. A Samoan triumph would have caused governance panic, forcing uncomfortable questions about eligibility, funding, and representation. Why do teams full of Tier 1 athletes remain Tier 2? Who profits from keeping them there? It's also threatened commercial control. If an island nation would conquer rugby's biggest stage without corporate wealth, then profitability would no longer justify privilege. Symbolically, Samoa's rise represented a cultural revolution, the global South reclaiming a colonial sport. Behind closed doors, governing bodies would likely celebrate the fairy tale while freezing real change. Bottom line, Samoa's 2022 run shattered the illusion that Tier 1 means better. It revealed the truth. The system isn't built on performance, but on economic geography and control. The tiers are trembling. Ideally, walking the white line. The Pacific nations' exclusion from rugby's top decision-making tables is one of sport's greatest injustices. Fiji, Samoa, and Tonga are central to rugby's identity and talent base, yet remains voiceless. Power within World Rugby is based on money, not merit. Tier 1 nations hold 3 votes each, while Pacific nations have 1. Wealth and hosting rights dictate influence, keeping smaller unions outside the old boys club. To move forward, the Pacific must unite under a single permanent seat with equal voting rights and fairer revenue sharing that values their unmatched player production. Their talent drives global leagues, a strength that can be used as leverage. Forming alliances with Tier 2 nations, Australia, New Zealand, and players' unions would amplify their voice. By pursuing reform, legal action, and independent funding, the Pacific can claim its rightful place, not as guests, but as equals at the rugby's main table. I call this piece Jingle Bells, and I welcome you to another episode of Violent Silence. But really, the Pacific doesn't need a seat at someone else's table. Oh, hell no. It's time to build our own. Why crawl through the minefield of whitewashed politics, begging for scraps, when we could build something sacred? A table made for us, by us, under our sky. Tears? They won't exist. The only tear that matters is the one ripping a new asshole through the policies that have held Pacific Rugby hostage for decades. Yes, the hill is steep, but the moral, the spiritual, the truth, it's all on the Pacific side. The future of rugby's soul depends on it. If you build it, they will come. I've heard that somewhere. How about this one? Let the mountain come to Muhammad. I like that one. The Pacific nations are already here. We will win the World Cups. It's not if, it's when. It's inevitable. And when that day comes, a new chapter begins. But really, remember the Colosseum was the grandest stage on earth. Tens of thousands gathered hungry for blood, desperate for distraction. They came not for justice, not for truth, but for spectacle. Gladiators were paraded like heroes, yet lived and died as slaves. Their pain was profit, their suffering, the price of the empire's applause. Above them, the wealthy feasted below. They fought for crumbs, literally. The empire knew if the people were fed the show, they would never question the system that starved them. Many years later, like today, humanity has changed its clothes, but not its nature. The Colosseum now has this new name, World Rugby. The lights are brighter, the crowd's global. Well, the crumbs still fall though. Shahid Bolson warned, history repeats because those in power forget or rewrite their own past. White amnesia is not innocence, it's design. By erasing history, they create a false one, convincing even themselves that dominance is destiny. The empire feeds on forgetfulness. Its myths become truth through repetition, and the oppressed are told to be grateful for inclusion in the illusion. Distraction is the empire's oldest trick. In ancient times, it was the Colosseum. Today, it's screens, sports, and spectacle. The system keeps people pacified, not through truth, but through entertainment. When you're watching the game, you're not watching the world. The crowd believes they're free because they can cheer argue, and celebrate, but they never question who built the arena, who profits from their emotion, or why the same patterns of exploitation never seem to change. Distraction becomes the drug, numbing people to injustice while convincing them they are part of something meaningful. Distraction fuels forgetfulness, which fuels an endless loop, the rewriting of history so that every new generation inherits the same blindness. When lies are retold long enough, they stop sounding like lies. The empire continues not because it's strong, because people keep playing their part in its story, mistaking spectacle for truth. But really, the Pacific doesn't need a seat at someone else's table. No, it's time to build our own, beneath our sky, on our terms. Because this silence, this violence, this violent, holy silence, ends when we remember who we are, when we stop playing the Empire's game and start writing our own history. But really, it's all distraction, because that's what we do, right? All of us, you, me, players, fans, sponsors, we dance in the distraction. We dance to the distraction. We want distraction. We need distraction. 40,000 plus watching from the stadium, millions watching online globally. We play this game so we don't have to face that world, the real one, the world of debt, the grind of the 9 to 5, broken love, lost dreams, deceit, envy, cancer, silence. So we escape. We play. We cheer. We pretend. Because when our team wins, we win. We feel alive, even for a moment. The truth is, we are the game. Every minute, every day, we are the game. And you and me are the ones being played.